What's going on, folks? I got to be honest. I did not be having this kind of discussion tonight when Louisville tries to end a 22-game road losing streak at Miami, who, as Eric Crawford knows, is a good team, good solid team this season, and they pulled out a needed win at the most needed time. Eric.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, Paul Rogers on his radio broadcast called it stunning, absolutely stunning, and it was not something that any of us expected. Although, I guess the team has been absorbing a lot of lessons and gone through a lot of adversity. The fact that they would come out and play this well in this game, is not surprising. They played well at Miami a year ago, scored 80 points, lost by 8. It was a good game. Yeah. Kenny Payne had watched that tape and seen some things. But really what they needed to do in this game was play good defense. And that's what they were able to do in the second half. And they got some help from Miami, didn't shoot well from the free throw line. It was number 3 free throw shooting team in the country, and they did not shoot well from the line. And they did not shoot it well from 3 after a hot start. So, but you got to give some credit for that. Got to give Mike James a lot of credit, 25 points, another career high. Brandon Huntley-Hatfield plays another good game. And then a lot of role players just did a lot of nice things. Curtis Williams, 13 points, 5 assists. I was just glad to see this for them. You don't root necessarily for the teams that you cover, but you do root for people. Happy to see Kenny Payne have this kind of win and these players get some reward for the work they've put in, and now we get to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest key when you come out of something like this is that absolutely this is a huge win for Kenny at this point in time, especially after, recently I called their loss against Pitt lifeless. It felt that way that day, and to be able to come back from that, your injury situation is still bad at the moment. I mean, Okorafor doesn't play tonight, Trey White doesn't play tonight, and they pull out a performance like that where Caleb Glenn really contributed some nice minutes coming into the game. It's just good to see those kids respond when the adversity around here is clearly at its highest. But the key, obviously, is you have a home game on Saturday to get another conference win, and that would be, I think that would be a big deal. This is your chance to we talk about the deposits, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's what happens from here on. It's one win. Does it change everything? No, it doesn't, unless it does change everything. But that is all for us to see coming up the way. What do they do on Saturday? What do they do next week? It still remains that their next 4 games are all against teams ranked in the top 4 in the ACC. So the schedule is still front loaded. But the hope it gives you is that they can compete their way through this next handful of games and then get to that back half of the schedule and play better and win some games and show some progress. Now, what does that mean if they do that? I mean, if they finish with, let's say they finish with 11 or 12 wins, we have this whole discussion of, does Kenny Payne come back? He gets a couple of good signings. What all happens? But let's not worry about that right now. I think the thing right now is, Louisville fans need to enjoy this night. This team needs to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And they need to feed off of it. Without worrying about what it means for the future. What it means for tonight is that a two-year road losing streak is over. A 22-game losing streak away from the KFC Yum Center is over. So as much as we're going to tend to say, oh, what's this mean? What's it mean? And there'll be plenty of time for that. I think tonight is about them, and it's about fans having a good time. And we'll see what it means for Kenny Payne, because really it all depends on the next 16 games.
Again, all I think fans have been wanting is this kind of response. That's the type of effort that I think shows some of the pride in the program and various things that people have been asking for. And again, you give the credit where the credit is due. This was not a night where, not watching, I wasn't questioning effort. It looked, the word desperate is something I think Kenny tosses quite a bit. Guys looked desperate out there tonight. And I thought there were moments where you kind of got that familiar feeling of like, oh man, this is the run where it kind of just gets away. I think it was Matthew Cleveland gets a couple breakaway dunks here or there, and you're like, I've seen this before. This has been the past 2 years, the run that kind of kills this Louisville team. And I give them credit. They kept bouncing back and kept bouncing back. And that's a big credit to the 2 guys you mentioned earlier, Mike James, who Kenny Payne always says he wishes he had like a bunch of Mike James clones out there. And then Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, who's really improved. And and I think he is starting to figure out the consistent intensity he really need to be the kind of player he wants to be. And if that keeps up, that's very promising.
Yeah, I like the way they interacted with each other. I like the smiles on the faces. I like the engaged looks. I like the way they kind of got on each other from time to time when a
Yep.
rebound wasn't gotten. There were 8 or 10 transition, possession opportunities that they just whiffed in this game where Miami blows down the court and gets wide open layups or gets threes. It's 20 points at least. But, they made all those mistakes and still won. Those are correctable errors. We'll see if they can correct them, if they can correct them and really play. Where they need improvement is defensively, because if you've got a team that can get Mike James mid-range going to the basket, making threes, Huntley Hatfield underneath, and somebody else, Curtis Williams or somebody making outside shots, you can compete offensively and you can put together enough offense to win some games in this league. And we'll see if they're able to do that.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. The 3-point defense, transition defense, I would definitely watch next game because they were pretty good in this game. That was how Miami did a lot of damage in those runs we were just talking about. And that'll be key moving forward. I think it's like, that's another sign of development to watch for. If you want to keep making deposits, like, can you notice little improvements in these areas that we're talking about from game to game? But the bigger point is to be able to have those shortcomings and still pull off a win like that at Miami, a good team with a lot of talent. That's a very good win. That's a win to be proud of.
Yep. So let's get out there. People can enjoy it, and we'll have one good night where we're not having to bust somebody over a loss. And I won't have to get up in the morning and think about what the heck do I write now. Rick Bozich is floating on air writing his column. He's probably running down Main Street with a banner right now. I don't know where he is, but it's a fun night for Louisville, and we'll just hopefully have some more of these down the stretch.
Yes. I like the better vibes. It's a good time, and it's, on a serious note, it is fun to, and I think you'll agree with this. When you cover a program that's struggling, obviously these are people at the end of the day, and they want to enjoy these things, and they put a lot into it, and you see this kind of response, and it's a good response. It's fun to see college kids enjoying a win, and it's one to enjoy. So the city should too. We'll see if they can build on it. On Saturday, we'll, of course, be at the game. We will cover it as hard as do every other, keeping up with this Louisville men's basketball program like nobody else. That's Eric Crawford. I'm Tyler Greever.